Hello and welcome to Brave Little Buckaroo. I'm Tamsin and this is my special Vlogmas series, How I Do Stuff, where each day I'm sharing a tip, technique or tutorial for how I do stuff. Now, not every video will be this long or involved, but I thought since it is Christmas and today's the first day of Vlogmas, I would start with a tutorial on how to make these Christmas tree felt decorations. Now, I first made these years ago. I used to make them for market stalls and pop-up shops, and I gave them as gifts to all my family members at one stage. They're very fun, easy to make, great to make with kids. There's no sewing involved, and you only need a few bits and pieces to make them. So what we'll need is some felt, obviously in the colors of your choice. I made this one in red, green, pink and white, but I also have them in, sorry, there's lots of them over on my table here, green and white, red, white and pink, pink and green, pink and red, lots of different colors. You can choose whatever you like. I even made some in like shades of gray and white for your minimalist Christmas people. So let's go over what we'll need. We'll need some felt, obviously, and if you want your felt to have a brown trunk, you'll need a little bit of brown to make your trunk down there. We'll need some string or cord to hang it from. You could use ribbon probably if you wanted to as well. We'll need a bead or something like that to go at the top. And we'll need some thread. So sewing thread or embroidery floss would work. Anything you can thread through a needle. So we'll also need a needle and some fabric glue. I think that's about it. Everything you need will be listed in the description box below, as well as the sizes that you'll need to cut your felt pieces to in order to make them all work together like this. And now I'll show you how to make it. Okay, so I have everything here laid out that we're going to need to make some trees. And as you can see, I've got all my felt cut into squares, and they are in ascending sizes from 1/2 inch square, and each one gets larger by 1/4 inch. So this is 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, and so on up to 2 inches. I have a piece of string here. This will be our hanging loop. That's about 10 inches or 25 centimeters long. And I have a piece of brown felt here for our tree trunk, and that is about 2 inches by 1/2 inch. So start by taking our hanging loop or our string to make a hanging loop, and then I just like to fold it in half and tie a knot in the end. So just a normal overhand knot in the end of that to make your hanging loop. And we just need one of those. And then I'll make our trunk so that the glue's got some time to dry. Well, I'll probably use one I've made before, but you might want to start with your trunk so that you've got some time for your glue to dry. And what I do with this is just start at one end and roll it up. You could make these longer or wider if you want your trunks to be more prominent. So I just roll that up into like a coil spiral thing. Leave a little space at the end for some glue. And I'm using fabric glue. I did try PVA, but it didn't work as well. It took ages to dry. So fabric glue is ideal. You could probably use hot glue as well. Just press the end down there until it stays, and then leave it to dry. If you're making a bunch of these, I would go ahead and make all of your stems or your trunks first, and then leave them all to dry, and then when you're ready to use them, they'll all be ready to go. So we just need one hanging loop and one tree trunk. I've got some beads here. Now, in the olden days, I used to own a bead shop, so there's never any shortage of beads hanging around in my house. I found one little green one in the box of red ones though, but I think we're going to use a red one for this one. Pop those away for later. Okay, and here is my thread. You can use sewing thread or embroidery floss. I just have a piece of regular cotton sewing thread, and I've cut it to about an arm's length, and I've folded it in half so it's doubled over. And now what I'm going to do is put the end of my thread through my hanging loop and then fold it back over. So I've got my thread folded in half, put through the loop, and then bring the ends together to fold it in half again. So now I've got four threads. And that's just for a bit of extra strength so it doesn't wear away over time. And then what we're going to do is thread all four of, well, the two ends and the loop into our needle. I'm using a straw needle, so it's nice and strong and straight. You just need to make sure that whichever needle you choose and whichever bead you choose, that your needle will go through your bead. Okay, so I've got the hanging loop and I've got my thread in my needle, and now I'm going to put the bead on the top. We're starting at the top. The bead goes on there. And then that is what's going to hold your hanging loop in place so that you can hang it on your tree or wherever. Great. And now we're going to start threading on our pieces. Now, if you wanted to do your tree in just one color, obviously you'll just thread your pieces in one color. And I like to do 4 squares of each size, moving down from the smallest one to the largest one. If you wanted to make your tree much longer, you could do more than 4. If you wanted to make your tree much bigger, you could also continue to cut felt squares until they get even bigger. But I think this is a nice size to hang on a tree. If they get too much bigger, they can get a bit droopy, which I think also does look kind of nice. I mean, trees in nature do sort of droop at the bottom, right? So if you want to just use one color, you just do that. If you want to use 2 colors, you just alternate. In this one, I've done red, white, red, white. If you want to use 3 colors, again, you just alternate. So because we're doing 4 of each size, it's easy to do all 1 color, 2 colors, or even 4 colors, because you would just go like this one, white, pink, red, blue, and you just do that over and over again. But I'm going to make mine in 3 colors today because I don't have any red, white, and green ones left. So because we're doing 4 of each size, but we've only got 3 colors, we're going to still alternate and cycle through the colors and then just still move down. So you can see this one is a dark one, a white one, and a light one. And then I've got another small dark one. And then we move up into the next size. We've got a white one and a light one and a dark one, and then another white one before we go to the next size. So that's what we'll be doing here. Okay. So we've got our hanging loop and our bead, and then we're going to start with a white square, the smallest one. And you just put your needle through the center of your felt square and slide it on. And then I'm going to do a red one next and put it through the center. And as I'm putting them on, I try to just turn them to make sure the points are in opposite directions. And when they're little like this, there's not a lot of variation between where those points can go. It's kind of this way or that way. But as they get bigger, you can make them sort of go around in a bit more of a spiral. So now we'll do a green one. They also don't have to be perfect. Once they're all together, they're going to move around on their own, and you can also adjust them. So it doesn't really matter how exactly you put them on the needle. But I am going to do them in order. So white, red, green in the smallest size. So now I need another white one, but I want 4 of each size. So I'm still using the smallest 1/2 inch square. And then I'm done with the 1/2 inch ones now. And then the next size is 3/4 of an inch, and the next color is red. So I'll do a red one, a green one, then I'm back to white, and red. and now I'm done with that size. So I'll move to the 1 inch. Now I'm going to start with the green one, back to white, red, and another green. So basically whichever color you start with, you're going to end with for that size. So for the 1/2 inch one, we've got a white one at the beginning and the end. For the 3/4 one, we've got a red one at the beginning and the end. And for the 1 inch, we've got a green one at the beginning and the end. And then once you've got some on your needle, just pull them down up to where the bead is. And then keep going. So I'm going to thread the rest of these on, and then I'll show you what we do at the end. Okay, so there we have all of our felt bits threaded onto our thread. All we have left to do is add the trunk. So in the trunk you can see where it's been curled up into a little coil. I like to put the needle straight up into the middle of there. And then make sure the felt pieces are fairly firm up against the top bead there. Then I take my fabric glue and I put a bit of a dollop onto the thread and onto the bottom of the felt for the trunk to stick to. So there's some glue up the thread so that some of that glue will go into the trunk. My glue's a little bit dry. And then some glue on the bottom. And then just slide that on there like that. And this glue is going to dry clear, so it doesn't matter if you make a bit of a mess like I have. And then it's okay to take your needle off now. If you feel the need, you can also put a little bit of glue just on the bottom there to... Sorry, my glue's a little bit dry. Put a little bit just on the bottom there to secure that thread. And then you leave it to dry. And when it is dry, mine isn't, but I think it will be fine, just snip that thread off at the bottom. And there you go. That's it. That's how you make them. And they're so cute in so many different colors. I'll just pull my little bin over so you can see some of them that I've made. There's some grey ones, some blue ones. These are sort of like vintage Grinch colors. And you know, even if you're not a fan of Christmas, you can do them in any colors you like. I mean, I don't think these are inherently Christmassy. They're very sort of Nordic and minimalist, I think. You could hang those any way you like, any time of year, I think. Okay, and that's it. That's how you do it. Okay, and that is how we make our little Christmas trees. And if you noticed, that's also how I made my earrings. I just did the first 3 sizes, so 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch, and then I stopped, and then I put on a trunk. And the difference in the trunk is that instead of being 1/2 an inch wide or long, once you wrapped it up, I think I just did like half of that. Yeah, and then instead of attaching a hanging loop at the top, you do it exactly the same way, but you just put an earring hook at the top instead. So there you go, bonus project. Christmas decorations and Christmas earrings. All right, friends, that's it. That's all I've got for you today. As always, anytime I am showing you how I do stuff, that's exactly what it is. It's just how I do stuff. It's not how you have to do stuff, or the best, or the only, or the right way to do stuff. It's just how I do it. So take what you like and leave the rest. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. And if there's something you would like me to show you how I do, let me know and I'll add it to the list. Okay, thanks friends. I will see you tomorrow. I love you. Bye.